Ooh, it's a nice and direct question. I like it, because then I can respond directly with no ambiguity. All right, let's go. So let's break it down. Over the past year and a half, obviously the world's been turned upside down, and the government stepped in and said that landlords who have bills to pay with the banks can get assistance with paying their mortgages. Of course, tenants could get assistance with their rent, essentially, right? And if they couldn't pay, they can't be kicked out, that type of thing. So what are you gonna see? You're obviously gonna see once these things end, you're gonna see, more than likely, you're gonna see a bloodbath, okay? In the sense that if you haven't been able to pay your rent and now you no longer can be protected from the consequences of not paying your rent, you may see a lot of evictions. You know, with the landlords that have to pay the banks and they can't pay the mortgages anymore because the tenants haven't been able to pay the rents. And now that they have to and they're not able to, you're gonna see a lot of transition in the market. And again, that transition is gonna come in the form of bloodbaths. You likely, more than likely, not making a prediction, but just based on all the indicators that are there, you're more than likely gonna see a lot of landlords default on their loans. You're gonna see a lot of tenants go through the eviction process, which is unfortunate. And it's really sad because no one could have really predicted what happened here. People lost their jobs. The landlords lost their source of income from the tenants. And at the end of the day, the buck stops with the banks. They have to get paid their mortgage. And if not, they can take the properties away. So unless there's something that comes in there to prevent that, you could see a big transition. In terms of a crash, I'm not sure it's going to go to that levels because you'll see some well-capitalized players come in there and pick up the slack. It just tends to always happen that way. Even if you see a crash, it's going to be very short-lived and things are going to return to normal as the world returns to normal. But it's definitely something to look out for. I do see a lot of people, and again, it's the old saying with real estate: as long as you don't over-leverage and overextend yourself, you're well prepared to handle whenever there's a macro event of these proportions that come in there and just shake things up, and you have reserves to cover you. And again, that's why people also should have reserves to cover them in savings or investments, so that when they get in a situation like this, they're not just living month to month. Overall, what's the moral of that story? It is that it's so important to budget, it's so important to save, and it's so important to invest, because nobody could have ever predicted that this would have happened the way that it did. Secondly, nobody could have ever predicted that it would last as long as it has. So that all tells you that you just never know what could happen. Nobody could have predicted or imagined something like this. So overall, just make sure you have a nest egg. Make sure you invest and save correctly, intelligently, and you can be protected from the eventual bloodbath that happens. But I do see one coming, and how long that one will last, hard to really say. But there definitely will be a fallout from that ending, and it's not going to be pretty.